Hello learners, welcome to session 3 of unit 2, that basic concepts of assessment in the course Assessment in Maths Education. So in previous lesson we looked at measurements in mathematics, and we said that measurements in math involves assigning numbers to indicate how well a student has performed on a test, class exercise, or a project. And we said assessment is measurement is the process quantifying assessment data. And we also said that measurement involves steps, and that steps are what, how, and the why, of the measurement of the assessments. Another term that is very closely related with assessment is evaluation. So in this session 3 of unit 1, we are going to look at the definition of evaluations and the various forms or types of evaluation. By the end of this session, as a mathematics teacher, you should be able to define and explain what is meant by evaluation. You should be able to state and explain the two types of evaluation, and then you should be able to distinguish between the two types of evaluation. Definitions of evaluation. In attempt to define evaluation, several definitions have been offered by renowned scholars. Among such definitions include the following, but they are not limited. We have several definitions out there. You can search them and add them to these we have. So evaluation is the systematic process of determining the merit, or in other words, you can say the advantage, value, and the worth of someone, the evaluee, or something, the evaluant. So this one was from the Michigan University, the Evaluation Center web. So the evaluee here, such as a teacher or student, you want to determine the worth and merit of a teacher or student or employee or anybody, or the evaluants, such as a product, you want to see the value of or the merit of the product, a program maybe UCC is running, policy, or maybe procedure. Is this procedure good for Ghana? This policy good for the country? We can also determine the value, and that is evaluation. You evaluate to see the merit of that or the value of that policy. So in effect, we can say that evaluation is judgmental, dealing with how well a student does relative to some standard. Now you have some standards set up there. You get 80 is A1, you get 70 is B, maybe B2. It depends on the standard set. So you want to compare the student performance against that standard. So it's actually judgmental. Now let's look at types of evaluation. For evaluation, we are going to consider here two main types of evaluation here. The first one is formative evaluation. The name implies formative. The process of judging the value of teaching and learning constantly. You judge the process whilst you are on it teaching, you keep on judging. So this one, it occurs at the end of each unit or end of a topic. For instance, you want to teach statistics. You start with graphical representation of data or data. You can, at the end of each topic, at the end of each session, you can say maybe you've done histogram. You can conduct evaluation over there. That's at the end of each. Or you can finish the whole topic, statistics. You do measurements of dispersion, measure of central tendency, and then graphical representation. Then you conduct tests at the end of that topic. You said what you are doing, so it's the process. So it provides feedback to both the teacher and the student about teaching and learning. The reason is that it gives an immediate feedback. You will not finish the whole year, the whole academic period before you conduct the exams or you do the evaluation. What you do is that you do it as anytime you come to class or a day or a section. So when you do that, the student will say, oh, wow, I'm learning, I'm getting the concept correct. As a teacher, you can also see that your students are getting the concept you are teaching, because the evaluation will guide you. And then it also helps to improve the teaching and learning process, as I've already explained. Because you are teaching statistics, you've done measurement, graphic representation of data. You started with histogram. Immediately finish with the histogram, you conduct evaluation to see, assessment to see if the students are getting the concept correct or not. If they couldn't do it, you can't go ahead and teach another topic. You should make sure they understood. So it gives you immediate feedback, and with that, it's improved teaching and learning. That is formative evaluation, ongoing process. Now, summative. Okay, the next one, summative. The name also implies summative. So the process of judging the value of teaching and learning at the end of the period of instruction. Term, school year, or phase of education. So here the phase of education example is, you can say BC or WASSCE. So at the end of term, in everybody's school, we have end of terms exams, end of years exams. So here we don't do it as teaching is ongoing, but when teaching is actually done. So that is a summative evaluation. So summative evaluation determines the extent to which the broad objectives of teaching and learning have been achieved. Because it's, for instance, on WASSCE, the objective is to determine the extent to which students have mastered the content of either the core mathematics or elective mathematics curricula. The student who has mastered it very well is awarded a letter grade A, and you bear with me, or the A stands for excellent, while students whose work is not at the desired level is awarded a letter grade F. Then here we say the student has failed. This evaluation is very judgmental, because you get A, perform very well, excellent, get D, you fail, or F, you fail. So this evaluation is very judgmental, with sometimes it deals with consequences for students. So here, for instance, a student whose mathematics work is judged as D7 by WAEC on core mathematics paper does not stand a chance of being admitted into any tertiary institution, of which UCC is one. Based on some courses, it depends on the courses though. So on the WAEC conducted examination, student works are judged on a continuum from excellent to fail, with various consequences for students' future learning. So summative evaluation actually determines that broad objective of teaching and learning. Let's look at summative evaluation versus formative evaluation. So that here we are looking at assessment versus evaluation here, the difference between assessment and evaluation. So assessment in the content base, you can say the assessment is formative evaluation, because anytime that is ongoing to improve learning. That's for content wise. Assessment is formative, evaluation is ongoing process, and evaluation is summative, final, to gauge quality. We will normally do evaluation at the end of the semester, at the end of the year, but assessment anytime we keep on doing. So it's actually formative. And then for orientation, that is focus of measurement. The focus of measurement. You can say that assessment is process oriented. How learning is going, but evaluation is product oriented. What's been learned, what is being learned. So actually evaluation talks about what's being learned, and then assessment is how learning is going or is ongoing. That is why it's formative. And then also you can say that assessment is diagnostic. That is identify areas for improvement. So that one is findings. For findings, assessment is diagnostic. It identifies areas for improvement. But evaluation is judgmental. It arrives at an overall grade or score. So you make judgments. At the end of that session. So it's actually judgmental. So in this section 3 of Unit 1, we look at the various definition of evaluation, and then we also look at formative and summative evaluation. We said that formative evaluation is the process of judging the value of teaching and learning constantly, and then the summative is the process of judging the value of teaching and learning at the end of the period, of instruction, and that can be a term, that can be school year or phase of education. Example is mention of WAEC, that is the WASSCE, and then BECE. These are, and then UCC also conducts exams. You can see we also have exams end of every year. You have to move to, you want to semester, end of every semester. You have semester exams, and you have some quizzes too. So how will you group them? The quizzes, UCC quizzes, and then end of semester exams UCC conducting. How will you put them into? So group them into evaluation, that's formative, and then summative. Put them there. How will you group the UCC exams, including the quiz, in under formative and evaluation? So that will be a question you should answer yourself.